Real estate rebound or reset. Coincidentally, we had a recent release of the TRREB May Market Stats, which coincided with the release of a new Bank of Canada rate announcement, which occurred on June the 4th. So let's take a deep dive into the announcement as well as what the TRREB stats show for May and what this means as we head into the summer months. Summer is just around the corner, but for practical reasons, we've already started the summer season. So, in this new episode of Building Wealth, helping you build wealth through real estate, brick by brick, I want to touch on the key points that were mentioned during the announcement. Welcome to a new episode. My name is Nico James-Bock. I am a broker with Keller Williams Co-Elevation Realty in Toronto and the original CondoWiz. I want to start with the key points as we head into the summer. So, TRREB reported 6,244 home sales in May 2025. Now, that's down 13.3% year over year, but marking a second consecutive monthly increase. Remember, we had a slight increase as a result that we saw in the April stats. The average selling price fell a mere 4% from May 2024, so year over year, to $1,120,879, improving affordability. This is GTA wide. Inventory levels have risen, no shocker there, especially in the condo market, with over 7 months of supply now available. If we look at the entire GTA region, most of the regions are averaging between 5 and 6 months of inventory. So a lot. Despite lower borrowing costs and prices, economic uncertainty, particularly related to US trade, as they relate again to jobs and our local economy, these continue to weigh on buyer confidence. So that's really the driving factor of a lot of these stats. It's the uncertainty brought on by the tariffs and the economic uncertainty because a lot of people have lost or will lose their job. The bottom line, the GTA market is offering improved affordability and more selection, especially for condo buyers. Again, I'm emphasizing, especially for condo buyers. Remember, there are two markets. There is the condo market and there is the castle or the freehold market. So we have to look at those individual markets to get a good picture of what type of condition they find themselves in. For the condo market, we are in buyer territory. The buyers have the advantage. Also, when we're looking at the freehold market, there are some pockets that are still in seller market territory, but very few. Most of them are also in buyer market territory. People have to sell and properties are staying on the market longer than usual because of the high inventory levels. Broader economic concerns, however, are keeping some would-be buyers on the sidelines. So there's not a lot of activity from these buyers. Savvy buyers, buyers who are taking the advice of realtors and other experts, industry experts, are cashing in. They are seeing those opportunities. I want to go straight to the individual region stats. Just quickly to give you an overview of what's happening in the various regions. So, as I mentioned, the GTA now has an average sale price of $1,094,186. That's GTA wide. for all types of property, condo and freehold or castle. The GTA on a whole is showing 4.96, so practically 5 months of inventory, and 27 days on the market is the average for the GTA. Passing to the individual markets, Toronto market stats, we're looking at 1,107,835, 28 days on market. Number of sales in Toronto, 9,287. So that's down 15.6%. Year to date, okay, so not year over year, but year to date. 5.6, so just over 5 months of inventory in the Toronto market. If we compare, just looking at Toronto, if we compare 2025 and go all the way back to 2021, or 2022 rather, the average price was in 2022, according to the market stats, was 1,233,740. We're just trending slightly under that in the 2025 market stats. If we really take a close look at where pricing is, we are basically at pre-pandemic levels in terms of affordability. So the pandemic had a marked effect on housing. There was a very, very brief pause, but then prices started to shoot up, if you remember. There was a very, very sharp hold to that market price appreciation when the interest rate changes. So, as I mentioned several times, the market is very, very sensitive to any changes in cost of affordability. When we go to Brampton, or Mississauga first, the average sale price is $1,030,430. That's down slightly, just 3.6%, so not really much. Just 2,133 is the number of sales that happened in Mississauga. And like Toronto, we're looking at 28 days on the market. Mississauga has slightly more inventory, and again, this is driven mostly by condominium inventory. Mississauga is a very, very large condo market, condo sector. So we're looking at 5.51 months of inventory in Mississauga. So lots of choice. Only 136 sales, condo sales in the entire region of Mississauga. That's really, really, really low in the grand scheme of things. But as we'll see later, this inventory that is in the market will eventually get eaten up as the people that are continuing to pour into the GTA transition from primarily rental accommodation or short-term accommodation to making a purchase. We will see that the number of sales will shoot up, prices will also appreciate. This is region-wide, and the number of sales will increase. Not only condo sales, but also freehold. When we pass to Brampton is still trending slightly under $1 million for the average sale price at $959,165. There were more sales if you look at all types of property in Brampton, so 1,776, but only 30 condo sales. That is a very, very shocking number, shocking for those that do not look at stats on a daily basis. But basically, all of the markets are showing really, really low condo sales. And I go back to the first thing that I said. It's mainly due to the high number of inventory and buyer sentiment. So buyer sentiment is still quite low, and that will fluctuate. But as we move deeper into the summer, we're going to feel quite a bit of pain before we get any kind of relief in terms of having those buyers' impression or sort of opinion of whether or not they should, pull the trigger and make a move. Before we see that, we're going to have to go through a couple of months of these quite jarring stats in terms of low condo sales. We passed to Oakville. Oakville is one of the more expensive regions. The average sale price in Oakville is $1,462,508. It's down slightly, 5.4% year to date. There are 1,000, like a round number of sales in Oakville, so exactly 1,000. Only 58 of those were condo sales. Oakville is like the other regions, hovering around 5 months of inventory, so exactly 4.59 months of inventory in Oakville. Very, very little price change, average price change. If you look at year 2022 versus year 2025 in terms of average price. So, as I mentioned, we are exactly where we should be in terms of price appreciation. So don't be shocked by the fact that things year over year change doesn't. It sounds like prices are going down, and if we compare year over year when prices were historically reached their peak just prior to the interest rate hike announcement. We are exactly really where we should be in terms of appreciation. Passing quickly to the next region, which is York region. Also another extremely volatile and a more expensive region. The average sale price in York region is $1,245,822. York region is a very large region, like Toronto, but being north of Toronto, there's more land, so more freehold properties, as well as much more room for condo growth. So there's a lot happening in York region, but because of the economics, not much is happening in terms of new builds, and that is also region-wide. There were slightly more condo sales in York region, 167 versus the previous 58 in Oakville and 30 in Brampton. So 167 condo sales, 28 days on market, which is average for all regions. And just under 6 months of inventory. So there's quite a bit of inventory in York region at 5.85. We go to the next region, which is Durham region. Durham region is another region that is trending below $1 million in average sale price at $906,883. Durham region, unlike the other regions, is below 4 months of inventory. So just above 3 months at 3.29. What that means is, yes, they are also in a high inventory environment, but more a balanced market. So we're more in balanced market territory in Durham region. So there isn't much flexibility in terms of price. In terms of the actual prices when people come to make a purchase or an offer to purchase, there isn't much movement in price. There isn't much movement for negotiation. Whereas in the other regions, people that have to sell and where there is much more choice with a higher number of inventory, there is usually room for negotiation. Durham region is not like that. I strongly encourage people who are looking for a property, be it condo or castle, to look in Durham region because those numbers indicate that there could be many opportunities to be had. That concludes the look at the individual regions. If we go to the monthly sales data, this is for all regions, so GTA. Just quickly, the number of sales were just a little bit below 2024 levels, so not too much difference there. We are much higher in terms of active listings, so there are more listings than there were last year, and many more months of inventory. The average sale price is about the same. Okay, and the days on market is slightly higher at 25 versus 19 days on market in May 2024. When I look at price appreciation as it relates to the Bank of Canada's interest rate, overnight lending rate changes. I have an overlay on screen for those that are following on YouTube, and we can see that prices are trending slightly upwards as the interest rate levels off. That is quite common as people settle into the reality of the current interest rate and get a little bit comfortable, let's say, at the rate that interests are holding at. But there's also that white elephant in the room, which is uncertainty, job security, which is weighing heavily on buyer sentiment. So that's tempering the price appreciation. When we look at the next announcement, the last announcement was June 4th. I have the Bank of Canada announcements rate schedule in front of me for 2025. So we've had already 4 announcements in 2025. The 5th announcement will occur on July the 30th. Before July 30th, however, there are also other stats numbers that we have to contend with. But the going, how shall I say, among the industry experts that are working in the economy, like Sherry Cooper, Sean Hildebrand, etc., are indicating that for the July 30th announcement, we may have another rate reduction as opposed to a rate hold. So if that comes to pass, we will be down to 2.5%, down from the 2.75 where we're sitting at now. And then there are 3 more announcements before the end of the year. So September 17th, October 29th, and December 10th. These same industry experts are saying that by the end of the year, the overnight lending rate should be at 2.25, which is in keeping with the Bank of Canada's projection, indicating that if inflation slows over the next couple of months, we get 2 CPI releases and 2 job reports before the next meeting, so before July 30th, and the economy slows in the second and third quarter as widely expected. The bank will likely rate cut 2 more times, bringing the overnight lending rate down to 2.25 by the end of the year. So that is basically where things are headed. I want to just go quickly to immigration levels because this is an important consideration, an important factor always when considering the cost, the price appreciation or price of real estate. We said that the first number 1 factor is cost of ownership. We had a look at the Bank of Canada's announcements and the interest rates. Also, job security. So what's happening with the economy in terms of jobs? I want to pass on to the immigration. So if we look at Canada and Ontario for 2024, which is the only the last year for which we have a complete census count, the number of immigrants or permanent newcomers was 483,591. So that's in keeping with the immigration policy that was set by the federal government. Even with the number of cuts to foreign students, it's still a very, very high number. If we look at immigrants, so those people who have left Canada, that number is 81,601. Okay, so those were the departures abroad, and that's the highest since 2017. If we compare the 2 figures, we'll get a net migration of 1,990 people. Still a very, very high number. As I mentioned before, most of the people that come into Canada head to the GTA, okay? And they start with either living with family or in short-term or even long-term rental to begin with. Then they transition to purchasing. If we look at the Ontario numbers, immigrants, 200,000 permanent newcomers is the number for 2024. Emigrants, 39,430. The net migration in Ontario is 160,570 people. In later episodes, I want to talk about the growth in new construction. So there is a sort of a halt to the new construction because of many factors, some of which I mentioned today in today's episode. So there are several initiatives by the Canadian government to bring more new construction because we will need to be able to house these people. And we are going to run into a very serious problem in 2027, 2028, and more particularly in 2029, when we're going to have the reverse situation that we have today. So today we are looking at very low numbers in terms of sales, very low numbers in terms of movement by buyers, and a very, very high inventory, so 6 to 7 months. Starting in the next 6 months to 18 months, that situation, that equation will be reversed. We're not going to have enough places to house these people, let alone the people that reside here as residents. But the newcomers will not have, in total, we will not have enough housing to accommodate these people. That wraps up another episode of helping you build wealth through real estate. I hope this deep dive into the TRREB Market Stats for May 2025, the current inventory levels and absorption, together with the recent BOC announcements, brings you some clarity in where things are headed this summer. The year is moving very, very quickly. At least that's how it seems. Lots happening. The emigration numbers provide insight into how the current situation may change 12 months from now. Remember, information is power, especially when it comes to your financial future in real estate. If you found this information useful, then like the podcast and or leave a comment. Please share this episode with anyone who may find the content helpful. Ciao, ciao.